Hey everybody, Tom Carnell here, Carnell Knowledge, a show I do here on YouTube every Monday and Friday, and I do daily posts recommending and reviewing movies and books and records and all that other kind of thing. I figure a lot of stuff gets falls by the wayside or slips through the cracks. It's my job to find it, bring it to you so that you can take a look at it and decide if it's something you want to add to your life or not. If you don't know who I am, I was a buyer for Tower Records, Record Factory, and Warehouse for about 15 years. I wrote and published Carpet Noctem magazine back in the 90s. And then I wrote also for Fangoria and Dread Central for like 14, 15 years. Now I do books. I just have a new book out called Open Late. It just got released a couple of days ago. And go to my Amazon page and check that out. If you, I can't think of anything else. Oh, if you have anything you want to talk about that you don't want to talk about publicly in the comments, go ahead and email me at tomcarnell@gmail.com. All right, let's set that aside for a minute. Moving on to some movies. I got a bunch of really good ones for you this week. Let's see, the first one, 1972, the original title is La Mala Ordina, aka The Italian Connection. Directed by the great Polizioteschi director Fernando De Leo. He did Caliber 9 and a great, listen to this title, Shoot First, Die Later. Stars Mario Adorf, who is in The Tin Drum, the great Henry Silva, who is in Above the Law, Woody Strode, who is in The Professionals, and Adolfo Celli, who was in Thunderball, and he was also in the Mario Bava film Danger Diabolic. It's about a Milanese pimp who is pursued and then pursues a pair of New York hitmen and the gangsters who framed him for stealing a shipment of heroin. Features a great score by Armando Trovajoli, and it is the second part of De Leo's Milieu trilogy, which included Caliber 9, this film, and then a film called The Boss. Woody Strode and Henry Silva reportedly were the inspirations for Vincent Vega and Jules Winfield, the John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson character in Pulp Fiction. Yeah, it's right. It wears that right on its sleeve. At one point, Uli Lamel, the director, is seen as an extra in this. This is a straight-up crime drama. It starts a little slow, and then bam, when it hits the ground running. De Leo wrote or co-wrote the script, I should say, for A Fistful of Dollars, and he was also the assistant director on For a Few Dollars More, which I found pretty interesting. But man, the casting of this is absolutely perfect. The story is a little thin, but you never notice it. It always keeps moving. It's always kind of punchy, and then when things lag a little, someone gets punched or slapped or shot or run over or what have you. It is considered a masterpiece in its genre. And if you've never gotten into Italian crime dramas, this is a perfect entry point. It's available on Tubi now for free, and it's one of the better Polizioteschi's. Once the action does start, it is well handled, it's exciting, and it doesn't let up for a second. Fans of raw-edged thrillers will eat this one up with a biscuit. And I recommend it for Polizioteschi freaks, Italian crime drama nerds, and Quentin Tarantino completists. Let's see, our next film, 1975, I Quattro dell'Apocalisse, aka Four of the Apocalypse. This was directed by Lucio Fulci, which is kind of mind-blowing. It's a Lucio Fulci Western, which, yeah. Anyway, it stars Fabio Testi, who is in The Big Racket. Michael J. Pollard is in this movie from Bonnie and Clyde, and the great Thomas Millian, who is in a film that I previously covered called The Cynic, the Rat, and the Fist. It is set in 1873, and four petty criminals, three men and a pregnant woman, wander through the trackless terrain of Utah, where they are hounded by a sadistic bandit, played by the aforementioned Thomas Millian. It's based on two Bret Hart short stories, not Bret Hart the wrestler, but Bret Hart the Western writer. And it has a terrible Pink Floyd-esque kind of score. Like when the songs come in, it makes no sense whatsoever. But yeah, okay. Harry Baird was in this, who was in The Italian Job. He was also in the Vincent Price film The Oblong Box. The dubbing on the copy I saw on Tubi was awful, but it does feature a number of voices that fans of Italian cinema dubs will recognize and absolutely love. Even for a spaghetti western, this is violent. Like, blood squibs don't just pop. Like, it blow, people's whole front of their chests explode in blood, and that was kind of shocking. Let's see, midway through the film, once they hook up with Thomas Millian, it turns into something different, sort of a Western version of Sam Peckinpah's Straw Dogs, and that there's some SA in here. There's just some nastiness towards the end, but as always, Thomas Millian is a terrific bad guy. As the story unfolds, we run into any one of a number of things. Again, sexual assault, murder. There's a childbirth on screen. There's some cannibalism that happens. In the end, though, the revenge is suitably taken, and but not without almost, like, literally almost everyone dying. Overall, it's a competently made Western with some pretty explicit gore and the addressing of a number of controversial topics. Recommended for fans of spaghetti Western, people who love Lucio Fulci, and out-of-pocket flicks by genre directors. Again, I had to think about this before I started it. A Lucio Fulci Western it doesn't sound like a good idea, but this one wasn't bad. It was fairly, I mean, all of the nasty stuff aside, it was a fairly enjoyable flick. Moving on to 1980, Dario Argento's Inferno. Again, I found this on Tubi, and I hadn't seen it in years, so I just threw it on. It stars Lee McCloskey, who was in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Eleonora Giordi, Gabriella Labia, who was in Deep Red, and Veronica Lazar, who is in Lucio Fulci's The Beyond. Has to do with an American student who investigates the disappearance of his sister and the death of a friend. Somehow they're connected to this book about the three mothers. It's pretty hard to follow. According to actress Irene Miracle, who is also in this, all of her scenes were directed by Mario Bava, who is there sort of as a watchful eye. But Argento reportedly got sick with something and was barely on set, but mostly directed by Bava. One thing that Argento did show up for is that whenever the murderer's hands are shown, they're Argento's, which, you know, remember, Argento's the guy who said cinematically he'd much rather see a person murdered than a couple making love. So there's that. He also directed his daughter in a sexual assault scene in the Stendhal syndrome, and that was a little off-putting. The assistant director on this film was Lamberto Bava, Mario Bava's son. And the score is by Keith Emerson from Emerson, Lake and Palmer. And it's mostly dissonant, and it's not a Goblin, let's put it that way. Argento has said that this is his least favorite of his films. At one point I read Nancy Allen and James Woods were almost cast in this, but smarter heads prevailed. It is supposedly inspired by Alain Resnais's project last year in Marienbad from 1961. I'll tell you, not even to bury the lead. The script of this is damn near incomprehensible. Acting is universally pretty stiff. The ending, from like 2/3 of the way through to the ending, it's a head scratcher. It was hard to keep track of what was going on. It's beautiful. I mean, it's lovely. No one can fault Argento / Bava's eye for color and for composition. But yeah, didn't make a lot of narrative sense. Yeah, I recommend it for Argento completists, appreciators of beautiful and dreamlike cinematography will love this movie, and those who like Italian surreal film. It is probably, other than the latter day Argento films, things like The Card Player and Sono Non Sono, I think that's the name of it. This is my least favorite of Argento's film. I think that it's pretty, and there are moments that are just a feast for the eyes, but you walk away from that film not really understanding what happened. So take that for what it's worth. Let's see, our next film, 1935. I just watched this last night, and I was so pleased. It is called, it's listed on Tubi, again, available on Tubi. Come on, give me a sponsorship, guys. It's listed on Tubi as The Phantom Ship. According to other sites, it is listed as The Mystery of the Mare Celeste. It's directed by Denison Clift, who is primarily an author or a screenwriter, and starred Bela Lugosi, Shirley Gray, and Arthur Margetson. Has to do with a fictionalized account of the Mare Celeste, which was a boat that was found abandoned in the middle of the ocean, says here, during a horrific storm at sea, the crew realizes that there is a murderer amongst them, and that person is killing everybody out one by one. I might have covered this in a previous episode, and if I have, please forgive me. But it's supposedly based on a true story, although it's given a fictional timeline and storyline. It was Shirley Gray's last film, not because she passed, just because she went on to do other things. But the reason to see this is Lugosi. Lugosi is remarkable in this film. One of his better acting outings. There's a British version of this film that I couldn't find. It's 30 minutes longer. This thing was only about an hour. So there is a 90-minute version out there somewhere, but I'll be damned if I could find it. Another really important thing about this was it was the second production by Hammer Studios, way before Hammer had gotten into the whole revamp of classic horror literature. It did this film, and it's full of faces. The acting is okay. Lugosi shines again. Very low budget, but done well. Things get a little cumbersome at the end, but overall, I think it was an unsung mystery flick that ultimately falls short of its intentions. I'd love to see a remake of this, along with something along the line of The Last Voyage of the Demeter. But yeah, enjoyable. And I always, again, I love it when people get dismissed, like Lugosi had been, Fulci had been at one point, as I talked about in a previous episode. But when they suddenly just come and they just deliver, and this was a fine example of that. I think it's important because of that to show what a good actor Lugosi could be. Yeah, I recommend it for fans of nautical mystery and seafaring tales. It's dated, it's a little stagey, but well worth checking out. And again, it's on Tubi for free. And then our last film is something that may be a little hard to find, but I believe in you. It's from 1993. The original title is Dung Fong Sam Hup, aka The Heroic Trio, directed by Johnny To, who is mostly known for crime dramas like Election and Exiled. But he did this early in his career. It stars Michelle Yeoh from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Anita Mui, who is in Rumble in the Bronx, and Maggie Cheung, who is in Hero. Has to do with kind of a superhero film long before those kind of things were fashionable. Has to do with a trio of women that go up against nefarious people, forces. Anthony Wong is in this in a villain role. It's important because it's a cornerstone of back in the day of the VHS days when Hong Kong cinema was just breaking in the West. This was one of the cornerstones. Heroic Trio was always available in video stores, and it's so much fun. Well acted. The fight choreography is great. There's lots of wire fu. Just fantastic. The female leads are great in this. The story can get a little overly sentimental, but that's okay. The sad part in all of this is Anita Mui, who was billed as Madonna of the East. She had a recording career, she had an acting career, and then she passed. And one wonders what her career would be like now when you look at the roles Maggie Cheung gets, and especially what the roles Michelle Yeoh gets. But the Heroic Trio, giddy escapism. It was absolutely a hoot. One thing I read called it Inspired Lunacy, and I agree, just fantastic. Hard to find, but yeah, you can find it. It's out there. It's worth the effort. Moving on to a book. I found this book as a result of Nick over at the Book Graveyard. Go to his channel and check him out. Does a lot of pulp novels. But he mentioned Paul W. Fairman's The World Grabbers. The World Grabbers. Look at that. Just look at that guy. Ooh, don't stare too long. Has to do with a guy who reads an ad in the newspaper, and he goes to check it out, and it's kind of a self-help thing by a swami. They even use that word. Who says, I'll get you money, I'll get you power, I'll get you anything you want. You just have to sort of fall under my thrall and follow my instructions. I found the book to be well written. It plays out very much like a Twilight Zone or an Outer Limits episode. Characters are super well drawn. I would have liked to have seen more of the Swami Sri Ahandi's background. They allude to it a little bit, but I would have liked to have seen more of that, how this guy gained his power. But they kind of gloss over it. Again, the book is relatively thin. So one complaint also is that the book comes to a screeching halt. I mean, we're rocking along, everything's going good, and then boom. It's like the writer either had a hard word count ceiling, like don't give us anything over this many words, or he has something else to do. And he just said, let's wrap this up. Still, it's a fantastically fun read. It's very pulpy. I do recommend it. I found this at a local bookstore for, I think, $4. So there you go. Good stuff. I highly recommend it. And again, I do recommend going over to the Book Graveyard. You will really, really enjoy what you find there. Let's talk some records. First one is from 2026. It was just released a couple of weeks ago. It's by Jeff Goldblum and the Mildred Snitzer Orchestra. The album is called Night Blooms. Yeah, I'm talking about that Jeff Goldblum. He's got a number of records out, and they're all fantastic. Goldblum is a very accomplished piano player and band leader. He always surprises with the width of his talents and the depth of his musical knowledge. He's not just pulling like songs of the day. Some of these are deep, deep cuts and performed perfectly. The entire band plays exquisitely. Everything's kind of playful, swinging, and whimsical. Highly engaging stuff. He talks between each song, and that's very entertaining. And periodically, the albums feature an array of prominent celebrities as vocalists. In this case, Charlie Puth is in there. Scarlett Johansson sings the song. A number of songs are sung by Wicked's Cynthia Erivo, and they're all absolutely fantastic. I love Jeff Goldblum. I love the Mildred Snitzer Orchestra, and every single one of their records, I always am very gleeful when I see that it comes up on new releases. Reminds me of stuff like Michael Bublé, James Taylor Quintet, Postmodern Jukebox, Rachel and Bill Ray, Samara Joy, and the great Janice Siegel. Give this a shot. So many of his stuff. He does a bunch of EPs, but all of them, everything I've ever heard by his band and him has been absolutely fantastic. Really great stuff. Up next, 2009. The band is Morglbl, Morglbl. The album in question is 2009's Jazz for the Deaf. They are a French power trio who blend metal guitar riffs, funky grooves, and sophisticated jazz harmonies. In some of the press releases I was reading, they were described as Primus meets Steve Vai. They were also, someone said, what if Frank Zappa fronted a metal band? Which is a wild idea, but it fits. Playful with their rhythms. They bend genres like nobody else. Very whimsical in their humor. It reminded me a lot of Guthrie Govan and the Aristocrats. Panzer Ballet, Spaced Out, Mr. Bungle, Liquid Tension Experiment, the band's 7 for 4, and Magic Elf. Immediately after hearing this record, I went out and grabbed everything else that they did, and I'll undoubtedly be reviewing that as the weeks and days go by. But just great stuff. Our next record from 2013. Its billed as Dev Gopalasamy and You're Kidding. The album is called 1 and 2. Gopalasamy is a Australian-based classically trained guitarist, composer, and arranger. The music is melodic, emotive, fusion-ish. Blends Western contemporary jazz and orchestral music with traditional Indian and Western music. Seamlessly mixes acoustic and electronica with Eastern instruments like sitars and tablas. Yeah, beautiful, wonderful stuff. Focuses on soaring melody and expressive tone, cinematic with orchestral elements. Reminded me of bands like Pipo Romero, 48 East, Jeff Lorber and Jeff Lorber Fusion, Richie Hansen, Gary Honor, Steely Dan, and the Japanese guitar player Masayoshi Takanaka. Good stuff. I listen to a lot of music, and I only try to bring the things that really hit me, and this record does. I'm going to spell his name just so that's helpful. Dev, D-E-V, and then his last name is Gopalasamy. And again, the album is called 2 and 3. Let's see, 2 more. There's a guy, Jolly Mare, M-A-R-E, who is in reality Fabrizio Martino, and did a record called La Luce dell'Alba. And it just came out within the last couple of weeks, where he's taken some of the music of the Italian film composer Piero Umiliani, who, that's a whole other thing. Umiliani's stuff is on par with Morricone and Stelvio Cipriani and a lot of these other people. A touchstone for Umiliani is, do you remember the song Mana Mana? You know, Mana Mana, do 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 do. That he wrote that, and probably bought a house based on the money that he made from that. But this record, it is again called La Luce dell'Alba, adapts some of his score music and adapts it into a more modern sort of presentation. It's not film score music. It's more accessible than that. But yeah, it's wonderful. It reminded me of Athabasca, David Handler, Rejoicer, the band Mouse on Mars, and Dave Harrington. I just listened to a Dave Harrington record, and it was awesome. But yeah, this just came out. I was really surprised. I usually will pick up anything I see with Umiliani's name on it, and this thing really surprised me. It's modern sounding. It's very pleasing to the ear, and yeah, wonderful stuff. All right, last one. 1985. The band is called Ronnie Johnson and First Light. The record is called How the Land Lies. Ronnie Johnson and First Light, their music is breezy melodic jazz and jazz fusion. Ronnie Johnson is a veteran guitarist and composer and session musician. The record features uplifting melodies featuring a tight rhythm section, his fluid guitar work, and kind of a spacious, airy atmosphere that is very, very enjoyable. Reminded me of things like the Japanese fusion band Cassiopeia, the great Lee Ritenour, Foreplay, T-Square, Freddie Hubbard. Throw in a little Steely Dan, throw in some Gino Vanelli, maybe. Yeah, this thing was wild. I had thrown it in. I have a whole process of new music coming in. Everything goes into an inbox, and then I sort of part it out through there. And I didn't even remember adding it, but when I clicked on it, immediately I liked it. And thought, I bet you the people on the YouTube show would really enjoy this too. So as with all of this stuff, the movies, I've included trailer and full movie links in the description of this video. I've included an Amazon link so that you can at least get a look at the information, and maybe if you want to purchase the book, you can go ahead and do that. Again, this is fantastic. And then full album YouTube playlists for all of the records. So don't just take my word for it. Go to the description, click on the link, it'll take you to another playlist and you can listen to it for yourself. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised on all of this stuff. So that's going to do it. One last thing, I have a new book out called Open Late. It's available now. You can pick it up on Amazon. The ebook I think is $4.99 and the print book is $12.99. Go over there and check it out. It's a short story collection and an ode to storytelling. And now I'm working on the next project, which is going to be massive. It's 170,000 words right now. And it's an interview book that covers about 15 years of people that I've sat and talked with. And I'm very excited about it. And I got some great people working on the introductions, including John Amplis from George Romero's Martin, and the great martial arts instructor and film fight choreographer Ron Malicki. So let's see, I think that's going to do it. I'll be back in a couple of days. I'll probably be back tomorrow with more shorts, and that's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe and all that other stuff, and I'll see you in a few days.